Hi, Internet.
Ever wish your beloved faction's models were in Kill Team 2021? Us too.
Like many others out there, we decided to homebrew some fun stuff into this new edition of Kill Team, and we want to share what we've done with you.
It's a whole lot of fun, and we're excited about this one. So, Homebrew. I've spoiled what mine is because it's on the screen. We don't have like a little standby thing. In retrospect, that would have been fun to unveil like 2 curtains. But yeah, Homebrew. I think us
returning from a hiatus of many weeks of lack of video recording is enough of a curtain reveal in and of itself.
I think that's fair. Life's been busy. Those of our viewers, I guess I can say it here, who are listeners on the Kill Zone know that I had a baby. Life gets busy when you get a little grot of your own. So it's been a minute. To be fair, we did have a video. We did have a video about a month ago where I just edited our line of sight video. So we did make content, even though it was rehashed old content. But
I mean, that's a royal we made content.
Fair.
Had nothing to do with this. I take no credit.
But let's talk about this homebrew stuff because we had a lot of fun doing this. We got the idea because we both came across a Reddit post of someone who put rules for Imperial Knights for the Kill Team as like some big boss kaiju battle. And we're like, oh, that would be fun. We should try it. And Alex said, well, let's work up to it. And then you had your idea, which we're not going to talk about yet. And then I got jealous. So I said, I want my idea. And I made these guys. And we're going to talk about these. And then we're going to get to your guys. But we also want to kind of talk about the process of how we did this. Because interestingly enough, a couple times now in Discord, I've seen people talk about narrative and balance and stuff like that. And some people say, don't worry about balance. It's narrative. And we did a lot of work to these teams to make sure that they were balanced in a sense that by choosing this team, you're not going to swamp someone else and just completely annihilate them turn 2. But you're also not going to feel like you don't stand a chance of actually playing the mission because narrative is fun, but it's also a game. And you don't want to show up to a basketball game saying, oh, my character wears 10-pound weights around his ankles. And that's my story. And then you can't play past the first quarter because you broke your ankles.
To tag on to that, I will add that we are not here to shoot down anyone's fun.
Oh,
if you want to build a broken homebrew team and your friends or your local group are okay with playing against that, more power to you. If you build a stupidly broken team that's capable of taking on 3 opponents at once, and that's what you guys want to do for fun, go for it. But we were focusing more on like a one-on-one kind of thing. And even like this Imperial Knight kill team that we saw on Reddit that kicked all this off. It was, if I'm remembering correctly, I think the guy was saying that he had done it to play games with his son, who seemed to be like maybe a single digits kid. So it was designed to be a fun stompy robot to play against a kid, which, and even then it was still really well designed. And I'm planning on stealing a large amount of that process whenever I get to doing my own Imperial Knight. But yeah, so if you want to have broken teams, go for broken teams. But yeah, what we're doing here is trying to be a little more like you could, in theory, take this anywhere and play with it if someone let you. And you're not going to blow anyone out of the water or be wildly underpowered either.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so balance has a place, but like you said, everyone comes to narrative for different reasons. Saying these are balanced does not mean that they're not fun. Just means that they're not too strong, but they're not just dead on arrival. That being said, Freebooterz. I love me some pirate orcs. And
no, you? Really?
And I missed my flash kits. I really like those models. They're fun kits to put together. And when Elites came out and Orcs got a little bit of fun shooting from the back line, and then the whole Flash Gets team, shooty Orcs, Freebooters with elites. That was just a lot of fun. So I wanted to. This is what I was thinking. Mega Knobs. I was thinking all these other things that I could bring in, and Flash Gets really were it. Now here's the cool thing. It says Flash Gets Fire Team, and you could only run Flash Gets, but this entire team. I took an entirely different approach than Alex did, by the way. This entire fire team and the equipment and all that kind of stuff is made to be part of Greenskins Compendium. So you could take 2 Freebooters fire teams. You could take Clan Commandos and Freebooters. You could take the Boys team. Boys team and Freebooters team. And that's the way that I chose to play it. And it's a lot of fun. A lot of fun playing it.
Having squared off against it, I think that it was a brilliant choice to do it this way, as opposed to making like a pure Flash Gets fire team. This, you drop in. On one hand, you have to do much less work because a lot of the things you need for a kill team are already there.
Correct.
You're just adding in the models you want to have, adding a little bit extra around the edges to round them out. But it's brilliant. I think it's a fantastic way of approaching making a kill team. And so, like, for people who want to homebrew, you can do your own of this version. Like, say, if you're doing what's another compendium team that has things, Eldar. If you wanted to do another fire, the Death Guard. If you wanted to make a Terminator fire team,
put in some Wraith Guards for your Eldar.
Oh, Wraith Guards. Okay, yes. That's a Terminator. Close enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can do
super easy to do
all sorts of things.
Yeah, super easy to do this approach because I did not have to do nearly as much work as Alex did, as you'll all see. So anyway, let's get to this. So
yeah, tell me about your operatives.
Yes.
How did you come to? What is it? So 4 operatives, and I actually didn't realize this was how you had built it when we played. So tell me about how you arrived at this conclusion.
So I wanted to look and try and, as part of the whole balance concept, I wanted to try and fit it into what a greenskin army would be durability-wise and bodies-wise and stuff like that. So looking, a lot of the shootier kind of fire teams were on 4 bodies, but also greenskins can have a lot of wounds with kind of mediocre saves, but then the knobs tend to have one better save at 4 up. So I wanted to kind of preserve a lot of the feel that's already part of the design in making this. So I said, okay, 4 operatives, but ammo runs are a staple, so they need to be in there. It's like, okay, we'll do 4 operatives, 3 Flash Gets, 1's a gunner. We'll see what's special about that. And wounds-wise, we'll see about it. But the focus was, if you took only Freebooters fire team, then you'd have a total of 105 wounds, I think it comes out to. If you went Freebooters with a captain leader and then a boys team, it'd be I think 99 wounds. 10 operatives kind of thing. If you went boys team with a boys knob as your leader, then that would be about 100 wounds, which is all kind of around, maybe a little bit less than actually a 2 boys fire team. And that's kind of where I settled on the number of operatives, and then also to kind of look at the APL. I did a lot of that. So that's where I ended up with the operatives. But I didn't want it to go overboard, especially with what the Amaranth can do. So if you select 2 Freebooters fire teams, you can only have 1 ammo runt, meaning you just get an extra Flash Get, and that's how you kind of maintain the wounds. And with only 8 operatives, you would have an additional Flash Get that gets you up to that, I think, 105 total wounds if you only take Freebooters. And then the captain has 1 more wound and all this kind of stuff. So we'll get all to that. But that's kind of where the whole design and where the numbers kind of came in and their saves and all that, just really using what the design team already did, which already works really well for greenskins, and just kind of extrapolating that based on the models and how they were in previous edition and how they are in proper 40k compared relative strength-wise, durability-wise, all that kind of stuff. But the Freebooters needed special equipment in order to work. I just ran them with just the normal equipment. I was realizing if you're in only Freebooters, or even in a mixed team, what they really do suffer from is getting off their special ability in order to feel special. So the first couple things there are more about making the models feel fun and feel like they do what they need to do, and then also other things to make them effective on the battlefield at playing the mission. because the first time I ran them, I was like, oh, these guys can't play the mission. They can't do anything. So Cutlass, it's great. 2 EP, it's just a choppa, but I flavored it as a Cutlass because yarwa kind of stuff.
Oh, is that the actual exact profile for a choppa?
Yeah. It's the same thing. Yeah, I just called it Cutlass. If you look at the whole like equipment data sheet for all of Greenskins now, you'll have Cutlass 2 EP and Choppa 2 EP, and it's the exact same thing. And I did that for a meme because I thought it was funny.
I've never put this together because I guess I've never actually looked at the line for the Choppa, but it's just an Orc Fist with 1 extra damage on both profiles, right?
And 1 more attack.
Oh, and 1 more attack? Okay.
Yes.
So better all around. Okay, so that does make some more sense.
Yes. It's just a sharp... Cool. You were thinking it was just a sharp fist? Yeah.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. I mean, that seems fairly appropriate.
Yep. Daka Grip. This makes more sense once you see what Gun Crazy Show Off is.
Yeah,
But suffice to say, 3 EP. It was 4, too expensive, dropped it down to 3, and I made it limited because it was way too good for everyone to have it. But basically gives you a little bit more shimmying to get your Gun Crazy Show Off to actually have a target. And I'll tie up back to this again. Sticky Squig Hide Glove. I kind of wanted something about looting, stealing kind of thematically in there. And I don't know why, but my mind was going to Home Alone, where I think it's Home Alone 2 in New York, where they were the wet bandits in the first one, and then the second one, the sticky bandits. And I was like, okay, yeah, Marv with a sticky glove, sure, why not? That train of logic is perfectly orky. So I went with Sticky Squig High Glove thematically, but basically it lets them do the comms thing, which no one in Greenskins can do. And I had come up with this before Into the Dark. And this is amazing on Into the Dark since doors are a mission action. So now...
2 things.
Yeah?
First, very importantly, yet again, we are apparently the same person and watch the same Christmas movies as children. Second of all, why is this not a limited? Do you think it should be?
No, it seems fine because you suffer a lot of opportunity costs to put this on a lot of people. And if you take 5 of these, they're not 3 APL, they're only 2 APL. So if you're only flash gets, it actually lets you play the mission action. If this ends up being too strong, because I actually never ran it on everyone, then obviously you could take it down, but it's only for flash get operatives. So if you did a mixed team, you could only take it 3 times, and then you're not taking stick bombs, you're not taking targeting thing, you're not taking the boss pole. So there's a lot of other stuff that would do more than this. So I don't think, I don't think it needs to be taken down, but taken down to limited. Maybe 2.
I'd be very curious.
Yeah.
I'd be very curious to try it because this is identical to the Hunter Clade Servo Skull, which is limited. It'd be very interesting to run and see what we think about it at some point. Okay. But now that anyway. Alex diversion done.
Yes.
Back to orking. And
the last one, Armored Daka Box, for the Amarant operative only, so by definition limited since you can only ever take 1. Their save goes from a 6 up to a 5 up, and you can reroll the Splody box thing. This is my favorite rule I came up with. So we're gonna come back to this. Okay, so let's get into the actual operatives, yeah? So Captain, he's the leader option. He has a Get Finder Squig, which only the gunner has. So basically, if you take the captain, you get essentially 2 gunners. The Snaz gun, I gave it Fusillade because it's a lot of hits. So I didn't want to give it Torrent, but it seems very thematic that you can spray and pray with these guys. And Fusillade's not that strong, so I figured, just throw him Fusillade.
Fusillade on 5 attacks on a 4-up, like... It's cute, but it might not do anything as well. Yeah.
4/6 AP1 rending. 5 attacks 4 up. I don't think it's unreasonable. I didn't give it heavy. I think that would be too punishing. But especially because it's not as strong a punch, but it's still a pretty heavy punch when it does hit. Gun Crazy Show Off. This is what all the flash kits have. Basically, if they make a shooting attack and they kill their target, and one of the hits was a critical hit that killed their target, they can immediately perform another shooting attack for free. Immediately. So you need to have 2 valid targets in order for you to do this. Now, I also have in here this can only happen once per model activation, because if I didn't put it in there, I originally thought like it could chain and chain and chain and chain, and that's it. Mm-hmm. With rending, it's possible that you could do that, but the rending's in there specifically to help Gun Crazy Show Off go off. Now I'm going to scroll back up. This is why DACA Grip exists, because you can do a free dash action prior to making the additional free shooting action. So you can try and scoot over to get another angle without having to overcommit, hoping that you can get both targets at once. So one person being able to get that is nice, and it's limited. So you'll either put it on your captain, who comes with a cutlass, I forgot to mention that, or you put it on your gunner, which is essentially the captain with 1 less wound. Oh, I didn't talk about the profile. 4-up saves like a knob. They're treated like knobs elsewhere. They have 3 APL, 16 wounds. The captain has 3 APL. The rest of them have 2 APL, 14 wounds. Yeah, on a 4-up save.
And that's the 3 APL on the knob, quote unquote, is in line with the rest of the Greenskins leaders, right?
Yeah, the Greenskin knob can take, or the Commando knob can take an equipment piece to make them 3 APL.
Gotcha.
So I just gave it to these guys, since they're going to be spending their EP on other stuff anyway. And
do the rules... Is there anything in the rules that would prevent him from taking that to go to 4?
Yes, because it says knob or commando knob.
Awesome.
Yep. I thought about that. Yeah. So gunner, essentially the same thing, except they have fists. Here's your answer from before. 3 up, 3 up, 3 4. So standard fists. Same exact gun profile for the SNAS gun. Note that the leader doesn't get, the captain does not get a bonus. Their bonus just comes in Get Finder Squig. So now that I've talked about the gunner also having Get Finder Squig, what this does is that you can select 1 enemy operative within line of sight. And for 1 AP, you can get +1 to your ballistic skill. It's 1 operative, so Gun Crazy Show Off does not let you trip that over to your next target. That was a balancing consideration as well. And since it costs an AP, you're not exactly able to move, shoot, and then dash away if you're going to do it. So you really got to commit to try and kill whatever you're shooting. And then the normal flash kit is just Gun Crazy Show Off, normal profile, same wounds as the gunner. Now here's the ammo runt. He dies if a stiff breeze looks at him.
As appropriate.
He has stick bombs. They're unlimited. Yeah. Because he's pulling them out of the ammo case. Range 6, blast 2, same standard stick bomb. He can punch something for minuscule damage. We'll talk about more DACA boss first. More DACA boss, once per turning point. I wrote this kind of taking a little bit away from how comms and medics, they can use their APL when they're not activated, kind of.
It very much reminds me, it's like that, but you've essentially found a way to work in the comms from the old last edition of Kill Team. Kind of. Is what this reads like to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Where like when someone else activates near them, they can pull it to themselves.
Correct. Yeah, so basically you have to be within 3 inches. So there's a sweet spot that involves Splody Box. We'll get to that in a second. And you give balance to the target flash kit. So only to flash kits very explicitly. So you can't give this to a Rocket Boy from the boys fire team. So only to flash kits. And you could do this with your activation, or this can be sapped from you when a flash kit goes. That's really it for more DACA boss. Now, Splody Box. I love this. I think I might have spoiled this on the Killzone subreddit. Not subreddit. There's no subreddit for that. Discord server.
Discord.
basically, if this operative is shot at and dies, you roll a d6. The player, the orc player, rolls a d6. On a 5-up, he explodes and makes a stick-to-bomb attack on anything within 2 inches. On a 5-up base. But if the grot was overkilled, so say you shot at him 4 times with plasma. He's got 5 wounds, right? So one of those hits are going to kill him. For each retained hit or crit.
I didn't realize you had built this in.
In addition to what was necessary to kill him, those were all hits, but they didn't hit him. They hit the box.
They hit the box.
Exactly. So that adds 1 to your dice roll. So essentially, if you shoot this thing with like the multi-last from the Breachers, right? Which is 6 hits, you could turn this into a 2-up. Potentially. So he normally has a 6-up save, and this is normally on a 5-up, and you would roll it. This is where this armor DACA box comes in. You can re-roll the dice. You could try. I put May in there because I could manifest situations where you charge this little guy in, just to say it's like, all right, kill me, to try and just explode in your opponent's backline. But I made it the stick bomb attack range, and I made the other 3 inches, so that way a deliberate player could
you can
straddle that.
Yeah.
But if you're on a vantage point, there's a good chance you won't have that freedom. So it's a risk reward to putting this guy up on a vantage point with your other dude, because also to be base to base, really hard within 3 inches unless that vantage point is 3 inches or less, which some are, but most aren't.
Within 3 inches, I think is an absolutely reasonable range for handing out buffs and things. That's that's the distance my that's the distance my Omnispec has to be until this morning. That's the distance that Rubrics had to be.
That's true. That's true.
I think that's perfectly reasonable. I don't think that's overly gamey or anything.
And that's it.
Woo!
Yeah.
Yay, orcs.
These are super fun. I like running them with boys. They work fine, just fine on their own, but I really like running them with a boys team. And yes, so that's to get back to the squig hide gloves. You're typically going to be, if you're running it with a boys team, I think this is fine to leave it as is because it's a decision. Because if you're running it with a boys team, you're probably going to take targeting thing, which is 3 points. You're probably going to take the boss pole, and you're probably going to take DACA grip here, and then armored DACA box. You might skip over squig hide glove. If you don't take targeting thing, you might take squig hide glove, but you won't have enough room for 2 unless you get rid of armored DACA box, all this kind of stuff. So I think it's fine at being unlimited, but I'm curious if people leave us a comment. Tell us if you try this and you think that squig hide glove is the new meta. But that's so this is a fun team. I had a lot of fun making it, and I've been bitten by the bug. I think I'm going to do more with more orc fire teams, and I think I'm going to keep adding them to greenskins, so that way Compendium Greenskins just keeps swelling and swelling and swelling, and I may or may not get crazy with it and introduce Karen, who's my Death Dread, but we'll see. So
well, before we move on from this,
final thoughts from you before we move on to the Legio Cybernetica.
Yeah, what, for those who are not well versed in orc plastic, what comes in a Flash Gits box?
I believe everything you need. I think there's an ammo red in there. I don't think so. Maybe not. Maybe not.
Is it 3 or 5? 5. Oh, so you've got. So yeah, you can absolutely build. Yeah, you can build them in whatever configuration you want, and then support not a full kill team of Flash Gits, but easily. Yeah, that's amazing. That's perfect. It's one box, and you have this expansion. Yay! I like it.
Alrighty.
Let's see.
Onto you.
Onto the beep boops.
So my favorite thing before you get started, I love that this looks like a homework assignment.
I mean, you told me before we started filming that this looked like a research paper.
Yes.
And I just do what I know. This is me.
Especially the disclaimer. Do you want to read that off?
All kill teams and operatives contained within this document, even though similar to existing data sheets, are 100% made up. All data sheets are balanced poorly. The kill teams presented within are coarse content and should not be used by anyone.
Or everyone.
You get you dear viewer, you get points if you understand this reference.
And moving on. So,
yeah.
Tell us about it.
So, when we were looking at this, the first initial, like, the impetus for this idea, that night kill team, I was like, that's fun. I want to do a night. And then I started looking at it, I was like, that's hard. Maybe I should do an armiger. And I was like, that's also kind of hard. It's like, well, okay, let's scale down and go a little closer to home. It's like, okay, so let's do Castellan robots. What can we do here? And it went through a few iterations of this. The first was just the 2 robots, right? Mm-hmm. That was it.
Yeah, and just this is an entire kill team. This is it.
Yes, this is it.
Yeah, I just wanted to call that out. So it's just and the first game that we played, all you did was 2 robots. Yeah,
and it was a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. It was about as murderous as we expected. Because we'll get to the data sheets, but they are chonky. Mm-hmm. But it was Emmanuel handily ran away with the game because I
think he got 4 or 5 points.
Yeah, something like that. It was from on the points. It was an absolute slaughter.
Yeah, but we had a lot of fun. But still, it was just like, yeah. Like you never stood a chance, even though we had a lot of fun. So that's where you went back to the drawing board.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so then it was like, okay, so what do we need to do? So we need to start adding more operatives in to give them a chance. And so the obvious addition to that was to add their data smiths. So if you're not familiar with the box that this comes in, the box that these robots comes in has 2 robots and the data smith. Mm-hmm. That is the box. Mm-hmm. And they're big. The data smith is like a marine sort of guy. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so then that also let me go sort of closer to the fluff and the feeling of these robots coming from someone who plays Big Hammer. Mm-hmm. Before the robots could reprogram themselves, which is like not at all how they work.
You mean in your first iteration, you mean?
Yeah, in my first iteration, they could reprogram themselves. And if you like know the lore behind them, that's like, no, that's a bad thing.
That's the opposite of what the Imperium stands for now.
Yeah, they're not down with that. But now that we've got the tech priest in there, he can do the reprogramming, and it actually works really cool, and I like it a lot. And the robots are interesting.
And then one more disclaimer. Sorry to interrupt. One more disclaimer. You also did all of this well before the annual was announced and those teams came out, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I wanted to say that before we get to later. Yeah. I just wanted to call that out now.
Mm. So here, let me grab a robot. So this is a Castellan robot. They're big. They are on 60 millimeters.
A little bit to your left. There it is. Yeah, perfect.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay. Castellan robot. So they have 3 weapons you can choose. They've got a shoulder mount, and then each arm either has a fist, or I don't have one. I grabbed one with 2 fists, but you can put a big gun on the end. Mm-hmm. And so when you're picking a robot to muster, you can bring any combination of those. You can bring 2 fists, you can bring 2 guns, you can bring a fist and a gun, and you can put one of 2 options on its shoulder, the combustor or the heavy phosphor blaster. Mm-hmm. So no matter which way you want to play him, you can play him. All right, so let's go down at this point and see some things. So if you're familiar with Hunter Clade, they have the Doctrina Imperatives, which is what Scutari get. However, the robots are Cult Mechanicus, and they're the ones who get the Canticles. So I had to come up with a whole new set of Canticles. And so I looked at the ones that are available in Big Hammer and did my best to map each of those rules to what it would be in Kill Team. Emmanuel and I went back and forth a couple times, dialing in, like making sure that they were all appropriate power level.
I like how you. And I like how you did that. You just handed me the Canticle and said, "What should this do?" as my opponent. What would you be okay with? And I think that actually worked really well because I didn't want to be a jerk and just say, "Yeah, Shout Psalm gives you nothing," or give you something pretty minuscule, right? I was just like, it gives you cover. I think that's fair.
And I had ideas in my head what they should be, but I didn't want to spoil like your unfettered thoughts. And if you had said something that I thought was too weak, I would have gone out and said, "Hey, I think it should be this." I don't think we ever did. I think one time you even like gave me more than I was expecting, and I took it.
Yeah.
But yeah. So like one of them, I think the first time we played Incantation of the Iron Soul, I just said it gave me a 5-up Feel No Pain for that turn. As I was thinking about it, that felt really
real strong. Yeah.
Yeah. So now I've dialed that back down to just the critical hit or mortal wounds. Still good. Yeah. But it's not quite as powerful.
Yeah. And all these are pretty straightforward, right? You can use them once per battle, and you use them just like orders and doctrines, right?
Right.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Here's the cool.
Once you.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were done. Go ahead.
It's like doctrines used to be. Once you do a canticle, it's done. You cannot go back to it. Unlike the way that doctrinas have been fact to work for Hunterclade now. But yes, what were you going to say about this next bit?
The battle protocols was my favorite part of all of this.
Yeah. So Castellan robots start in it. I've taken a lot of these rules from Big Hammer and figured out how to port them. So they have 3 protocols: the Aegis Protocol, Conqueror Protocol, and Protector Protocol. They always start the game in the Aegis Protocol, which, like an Aegis, makes you tougher, harder to hurt. Baseline, they will have a 3-up armor, 5-up invuln. This just improves each of those by 1. So when you're starting out in the field, you just have 2 ultra tanky robots that are just going to look at everything that gets thrown at them and laugh. But then you can reprogram them over the course of the game to tack them into either being really good at fighting or really good at shooting, at now the expense of being less durable. And it works. I've used this in Big Hammer and it's cool. I think it's even cooler in Kill Team because all of a sudden you have this like murder machine that is just absolutely incredible at the thing you want it to do, which in a 3 operative Kill Team you need it to do.
I was about to say that. Yeah. When you don't have flex in, like, even with 4 models or 6 models, you can flex to long range, to short range. You don't have that option. So this was so clever to include, to allow you to flex depending on what your plan was going to be that turning point.
Yeah. And speaking of flex, let's go up to the top of the next So this is a ton of special rules that apply to Castellans. I thought a lot about this. I'd be curious, before I get into this too much, what you thought of it facing it.
They seemed fine. The Overwatch and engagement range was the one thing that I had to keep reminding myself because it was the biggest rule breaking thing. But that being said, it was okay. I wasn't. It didn't impact me in a negative way to the point that I was just like, this needs to be toned down or anything like that. It was just something I always had to remind myself of. But that's true for any faction I play that breaks rules. Like Tau can do that, right? They can shoot into engagement, not Overwatch while in engagement. They can shoot into engagement. And that's something that you always need to keep in mind. So that was the only thing about it. But I think they were perfectly fine. The traverse costing a little bit less, I think, was necessary because they're big. So their bases are going to go over a lot of light cover. It's hard. We had to deliberately make maps that worked for their big booty bases. And even designing around their bases, they still had a little bit of difficulty traversing. And that's fine. It's a crowded war zone. It's these big bots trying to clear out small little operatives. I think it works thematically, but also they're big feet, so light cover is not going to be that hard for them to get over as it's going to be for an Umi-sized person, right?
Yeah, and just so people have an understanding of the size, people are familiar with Sicarian infiltrators. Like, this is an infiltrator. You know that size. That's a 40 millimeter
Which
base.
is big for Guillotine. Yeah. Yeah.
This is a Castellan.
Yeah.
They are huge.
Yeah.
They take up a ton of space.
Yeah.
But yeah. But some of these other rules, they always have to be in engage because they're a giant robot and stealth is not their thing. Since we actually added this today, I gave them the same lack of ability to gain cover from light terrain that the Gellerpox did. Yeah. That I did steal from the annual, which I think is great.
It's fine.
Yeah.
I think one thing you do have to add in here that I'm seeing is that they can squeeze through doors.
That's fair.
Yeah, just to make it so that way. Kind of like how that big Tau commander on Arena from last edition could squeeze through the doors. Just say like, yeah, they can go through doors. As long as they have enough movement to end on the other side that they can go through the doors. I think you should add that in here.
Yeah, I might do that, and I might also steal the, what is it? The Bull Rush strat from Gellerpox, where they can like charge through things. Mm-hmm. I think that would be thematically appropriate for them as well.
Yeah. And if you move over another operative with your base, then they get oh my goodness, I'm forgetting my Star Wars Legion. I was going to make a Star Wars Legion reference. A stress token. Oh my goodness. What is it called? Oh no, I'm playing too much Kill Team. I need to play more Star Wars. No, I'm not playing enough Kill Team. I need to play more Kill Team. Go for it. Sorry.
Yeah, but no, just so yeah, a lot of these rules like they can shoot twice natively. It is specifically that you must use different weapons each time.
I'm sorry, suppression token. Go ahead.
Okay. You colossal nerd.
Guilty.
As I sit here discussing my custom robots.
Yes.
But yeah, so a lot of this is just a lot of these rules. In addition to being thematic, like they must always be in engage, or like porting over rules, like they have their invuln, they can reflect mortal wounds back on you if they use their invuln in shooting.
That hurts.
Yeah. But a lot of like the double shoot, the overwatch into melee, the shoot into melee, these are all built around preventing cheesing them in ways that you could do if the normal rules applied to just two operatives,
like tar pitting them and all that kind of stuff. Absolutely. Yeah.
It keeps them alive and functional in the game, and I think is very thematic as well, just for a giant robot stomping around a battlefield. Like he's not going to care that you're skirmishing at his feet. He's going to shoot you anyway.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Cool. I thought all those were fair and they felt fine. But it forced me to do different tactical decisions, and that was refreshing. I enjoyed that.
Yeah. So special actions. So the Datasmith can reprogram a robot to change which protocol it's in, and then he has Master of Machines to heal a robot. When I asked you mid-game, I had already decided in my mind 3D3 is appropriate. I asked you mid-game, you didn't know what my heal was going to be. I said, what do you feel is appropriate? You said 2d6, and I was like, that feels like a little much.
Yeah.
Because they have 40 wounds, as we'll see in a second.
Yeah. 2d6 can like potentially 3D3. Swing real far. I think 3d3 is a better way to be a little bit more consistent.
Yeah, it's pretty consistent.
So do you want to cruise through these ones real quick, the ploys?
Yeah, we'll cruise them real fast. Because I'm not adding a fire team to an existing kill team, this all is from scratch, brand new things. And a lot of it is, again, I have ideas ripped from Big Hammer. The Cage of Eridemus in Big Hammer is a relic that makes people, when you hit them, they fight worse. So I've done that essentially here. The first time we did it, we were looking at it and we said that's too strong. So it's been limited to once. It's up to CP. But if you apply this to a robot, anytime someone comes and attacks it that turn, you're going to strike first. And that makes a very scary robot for a turn.
Yes.
Machine Spirit Resurgent, you tell a Castellan to not be injured in a turn. Binaric Exaltation, we're going to come back to this one because I figured out something cool, like a cool way to give them a scoring identity. Tactical ploys, you can blow up a Castellan when it dies. That's fun.
What? You say can. I believe the rule is you must
Rule
always.
is must. Yes, if you have the campaign points and the robot dies, you must spend that.
In one of the games we played, all you wanted to do was kill my boss knob, he
was so annoying.
Who got the final hit in melee on both of your robots, and you blew up both of those robots, and he survived on 1 health point.
Yeah, when he blew up when he killed the final robot, I'm pretty sure he was on 2 health left,
and
I rolled a
1. Yeah.
Or maybe maybe he had 3 and I rolled a 2. I don't know. It was something improbable.
Yes. Anyway, sorry to derail.
Yeah, no worries. So binaric override, also idea stolen from Big Hammer. Essentially, you direct the robot to change its protocol. The Datasmith does not have to be nearby, but at that point, your protocol is locked. Mm-hmm. If you change it via the Datasmith, you can bounce back and forth multiple times. But this is, you change it, it's your emergency button. Mm-hmm. You hit it, you switch it, but then it's locked into that for the rest of the game. And then Data Spike, again, idea stolen. The Datasmith is not great in melee. This gives him a little bit of something to make him a teeny bit scarier to consider touching. It's a 50-50 shot of doing something.
Yep.
I don't know. It's kind of fun.
Yep.
It's cute. It's not going to break anything. But yeah, so Datasmith.
Do you want to talk about the Datasmith or the robots first?
We'll just touch the Datasmith while he's here. He's got the 2 actions we discussed. He's essentially a Marine. He's got a 2-up save. He has a Power Fist, and he's got a Gamma Pistol, which is a gnarly weapon.
It is. It really is.
Yeah, but it's a pistol, so if you get up and close to him, he's going to make you hurt. He's not doing anything terribly, like at range. He's not doing anything. His job is to babysit the robots and make them do good.
And that's really where he excelled.
Yeah. Now we come to the robots, which are lovely.
And the 2 are identical, right? Like this data sheet would be for both of them. You don't have like a different one for each one, right?
Correct. Yeah. Depending on how you choose to kit them out, they'll have certain of the weapon options available to them. But yeah, the base data sheet's the same. The abilities are all identical. The rows identical. There's no like robot warrior, robot gunner, or anything like
Correct.
that.
Yeah.
The one thing is, I suppose if you take a robot with 2 fists, it gains the ability to re-roll 1 die of any value because I needed a way to make 2 fists be worth it. Because otherwise, like if you take the 2 Castellan Phosphor Blasters, because you can double shoot with 2 different weapons, you're shooting with your best shooting profile twice.
Gotcha.
So I wanted the double fist to have something good. But against you, I ran 1 fist, 1 Castellan Phosphor Blaster, and the Incendent Combustor. And it was great. They felt like massive stompy war machines. They just waded forward and spit out a ton of damage every turn. It was a lot of fun.
So phosphor, what's that?
So that's a keyword I came up with to mimic what, is it incursors or infiltrators? The ones who, the Phobos who have obscuring at 4 inches instead of 2 inches. It's that rule.
Incursor?
That would
the one that has like the this little thing on it.
Probably that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because in Big Hammer, the phosphor weapons ignore dense cover, which is something that gives you -1 to hit when you're shooting at them. Now there are rules like the Omnispecs lets you ignore light cover, which gives you the save bonus, which is already applied in our no cover rule in Kill Team. So this wasn't exactly that. So I decided that this was an appropriate thing for that. It seemed right. Makes them a little harder to hide from.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I mean, they have a higher view. They have more kind of visualization of the battlefield, so it kind of allows them to, with their main weapons, to something's not going to be as obscured. And it's not like they're looking with their eyes anyway. They got their robot optics. Everything. Yeah. So this felt fine. This felt fine to me too. I enjoyed interacting with it.
And the big thing about them is even though they're massive, they're tough, at their base, they're only hitting on 4s. They're not custodies like just if they look at you, it's an automatic. Like until you switch them into the appropriate protocol to try to bump up whatever you're trying to do, they're kind of swingy. I think I had one charge a orc boy and just like totally whiff on him.
Yeah, I think I parried you away. Yeah.
Yeah. It was just like, oh, okay, well, fine.
Anything more on these ones before I scroll away?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So do you want to talk about this that we haven't talked about yet?
Yeah. So, okay, well, here, scroll more. No, we'll stay here. We'll stay here. That's fine. So we played I don't know if we played a game or not in between this before I added the servo skulls. I did mention to some people that on one of the Discords that I was playing this with this idea and that action economy was tight. And so it was suggested that I add a couple servo skulls or something else to just be action monkeys. And I liked the idea, but I didn't like the idea as a baseline addition to the kill team. I felt like that was a little much. And also kind of took away from the identity of it just being like big robots go out and murder you. So what I did was I made servo skulls an equipment option. So you can bring a servo skull operative for 5 equipment points, and you can do it twice. All of their equipment options are 5. And so then they can do actions for you on back points.
And they always have to be concealed.
Yes. Yeah. And they're like the Ninja Grot. They will always be concealed no matter what, because they're teeny tiny little things. And yeah, so their job is just if you spend the equipment points on it, they hang out in the back and score you points.
And they're GA1 and APL2, right?
Yeah. One thing I think I might actually take from this or change on this from the annual. Yeah, from the annual. I never even considered doing a defense value of less than 3. Like that was, never crossed my mind that that's something you could do.
I think this is fine. Fine. Yeah. I think with how much you're investing 5 EP for it, I think it's fine to at least let them have 3 5-ups.
Yeah. Well, that's the interesting thing too, right? Like my 5 EP operative is arguably worse than the 2 or 3 EP operatives that Gellerpox gets. However, what they add to the team, I think, is worth so much more than what an individual vermin adds to Gellerpox. So I think that's one of those things where, like, if it was an old kill team, and you're like, well, this guy's worth more points than he is on this team, but just due to the individual composition and things, he provides more with the same abilities. So it makes sense to me.
Yep.
And so basically for equipment here, I converted 3 relics, or no, 2 relics, the Uncreator Gauntlet, which is like Mondo Power Fist, and Tempercopia, which makes people fight worse.
Stunning.
But then there's this Lingering Data Geist. This is a really cool idea I had. So you throw it on an operative, and at the end of each round, you roll a die. And on a 5-up, you get to choose one of the Canticles that's active on that operative, and it holds on to it. And it gets to keep that active until the next turn.
That's so funny.
And we skipped over it, but one of the strategic ploys gave your tech priest the ability to use a 2 action point action to enable a second Canticle for your team.
Oh, yeah, you said you wanted to come back to it, so I can scroll right here.
Yeah, right. So in theory, you do that with a guy. You now have 2 Canticles active for your entire team. If someone has the Lingering Data Geist and they roll the 5-up, they get to choose which of those is still active for them.
On the subsequent, yeah.
But wait, there's more.
Okay.
So now you bring in Canticle B from the first turn. Your Tech Priest does this again in the second turn. So you choose Canticle C, and then your Tech Priest activates Canticle D. So now you've got a robot with 3 Canticles active. And then if he rolls a 5-up, he can choose any of those 3 because all 3 are active for him to hold on to
the next one. Yeah.
That's now it procs on a 5-up, so most of the time it's not happening. But I thought it was it's a cool thing.
I think so. Now, yeah, that's neat.
Yeah. So, and I gave them 2 tac ops. One is calculated eradication. It's the same deal as Hunter Clades.
Mm-hmm.
However, the Spineric extermination is the one that I really love.
Mm-hmm.
So every time you eliminate an enemy operative with one of your operatives who has 2 or more Canticles active,
mm-hmm.
you add 1 to your tally.
Mm-hmm.
And then depending on what your tally is, you score 1 or 2 victory points at the end of the game. I currently have it set at 25% and 50% of their total. Those could be tweaked. I'm not attached to those. We probably need to figure out what the appropriate values are there. Because it could be, you can... So this is the thing that's really interesting to me, is you can make it, like, you can invest a lot and make sure that you have 3 turns with 2 Canticles up and make this a guarantee. Mm-hmm. But then that means on a 4th turn, you won't have any Canticles at all, mm-hmm. because you only have 6 Canticles and you can never go back on them. Well, you can rely... What's up?
Well, that's not bad, though, because this whole binary extermination relies on you killing over half, at least half of your enemy with all those Canticles. Mm-hmm. If you've killed at least half, probably more, by the end of turning point 3, you're probably okay without any Canticles for turning point 4.
Yeah. So maybe the 2 needs to be upped. I don't know.
I think it's fine. I think it's fine.
Okay.
I say go with it.
Yeah. But then you have the guarantee to get the 2 Canticles by using the by using the Tech Priest. But you also have the Data Geist that may let you get it sometimes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. It was just at some point I had this idea of like, this would be a cool way to like incentivize and give them like a real identity and then score around that identity.
Yeah. And the Data Geist happens at the end of the turning point, so you know if this went off before you have to spend the CP for the strat ploy.
Yes, because that would be it's a strategic ploy. So
mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool. These teams are fun to play. Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed the whole process.
They were fun to play against each other.
Yes. I had a lot of fun playing with it and against it. The first time we played it, I played my commandos into it, and it was still fun, even though I wasn't using a homebrew team either. Yeah. So we're going to post these on the Killzone Discord. I think I'll put it in the narrative thing, and I'll just I'll ask Eric Utzigal to pin it there. So if you guys mm-hmm. join the Killzone Discord, we'll put a link in the description. You'll be able to find them there, or just screen grab from this video. Yeah, and that's
we're not hiding digital assets. No one needs to do Manread's book.
No,
we're fine.
And I encourage you all to let us know in the comments what you liked, what you didn't like about the teams. If you have any ideas, if you have your own ideas for homebrew and you want to share with us, let us know, honestly. And if you guys like this kind of stuff, we have more ideas. If you want us to share more of the teams that we're putting together, I know Alex, I think, has already put together an entire other team as well. More of his lost souls from last edition. I may
have a battle congregation.
Yeah.
Whoops.
And let us know if you want to see more stuff like this. That being said, I've been Emmanuel.
I've been Alex, and thank you for listening to our passion projects. We love you all.
Bye, Internet.
Bye.